And staying with Monday, 7:30 in Coronation Street, Mike Baldwin is well on the way to establishing his little empire. Back to this evening now, we join Brenda Rowe for the ITN News.
The news from ITN.
Heard insists he didn't ask Heath to go to Baghdad. The new controversy about Mr. Heath's visit to Iraq came after the former Prime Minister suggested he'd been approached by the Foreign Secretary. It seemed to contradict Mr. Hurd's earlier claims that the mission to free sick and dying hostages was Mr. Heath's own initiative. Today, Mr. Hurd repeated that he had neither encouraged or discouraged Mr. Heath.
When Ted Heath first announced his Baghdad mission at last week's Tory party conference, Douglas Hurd was quick to distance the government from it.
It's his initiative. It's mainly humanitarian.
Nevertheless, some ministers, among them Tom King, still feared the trip could be used as propaganda by Saddam Hussein. But today, Mr. Heath said it was Mr. Hurd who asked him to go.
The relatives of some of these people in Iraq and in Kuwait, who are very ill and in one case dying, approached him and said, look, can't something be arranged?
And he asked you, and you said you'd think about it, and you later told him you were prepared to go.
Yes.
But in Cairo today, Mr. Hurd's recollection was different. He says he phoned Mr. Heath after being told he was already considering a trip.
For obvious reasons, as you would have expected, handled the matter very carefully. And he had not made up his mind. I neither encouraged nor discouraged him from the enterprise. I did not ask Mr. Heath to go.
Today, as Mrs. Thatcher met South Africa's president, one report says she hit the roof when told Mr. Heath would meet Saddam Hussein. But Downing Street denied this, saying she has no particular view about the trip.
Also in Cairo, Mr. Hurd said Saddam Hussein must leave Kuwait of his own free will or at the point of a gun. He warned that if the Iraqi leader didn't leave, the world would push him out.
Nobody in their senses wants war or bloodshed. But there is a greater evil. The greater evil would be if we condemned our children to live in a world where force and brutality can scorn law, can ignore decent standards of behaviour.
Israel has refused to receive a United Nations mission investigating the killing of 21 Arabs in Jerusalem by Israeli security forces. Israel claims that the UN mission does not recognise Israeli sovereignty over Jerusalem and won't take account of provocation caused by Arabs stoning Jewish worshippers.
The Israeli cabinet went into session this morning to reject world opinion and to tell the United Nations, hands off Israel. The government's anger and bitterness has been growing daily over what it sees as outside interference in an internal matter. The intended UN mission was set up to inquire into the killing of more than 20 Palestinians in Jerusalem last week. If it still goes ahead, it'll have no more than tourist status so far as the government's concerned. Foreign Minister David Levy, who'll meet his British counterpart Douglas Hurd here in 2 days' time, made the announcement. Other ministers also denounced the UN.
The Israeli government as such will not have to deal or to do with any one of this delegation.
This decision puts the next move back in the hands of the Security Council. Is there now any point in the UN delegates coming here to talk only to Palestinians? A one-sided report would, in the Israeli view, match a one-sided resolution of condemnation. Colin Baker, ITN, Jerusalem.
Golf, and in a sudden death playoff, Ireland beat England to take the Dunhill Cup. Irish captain David Feherty took an 18-foot putt to within inches of the pin on the third playoff hole. It just needed a tap for Ireland to take the match, giving them the title for the second time in 3 years. Soccer, and there's one third division result this evening: Brentford 0, Cambridge 3. Explosive experts have destroyed 8 blocks of council flats at Salford in what's thought to be one of the world's biggest ever demolition jobs. The 11-storey high flats were built in the 50s but are now judged past repair. 6,000 explosive charges, half a ton in all, were used to bring them down.
8, 7, 6...
We'll be back with our main bulletin at 8:45. Have a good evening.
Good evening. Well, apart from a few showers in the far northwest and one or two in the extreme southeast, most of the country's had quite a pleasant day today, fine with some sunshine. But all that fine weather's under attack now from two directions. Cloud and rain coming in from the west, another bulge of cloud and rain set to run its way quickly up from the south through the night tonight. So that by tomorrow morning you'll find rain pushing northwards across Scotland, pushing across the Irish Sea into Wales and the southwest during the morning, and then continuing on through the afternoon, getting across into the Midlands. But I think the extreme east of England should hold on to dry and quite bright weather until the evening. Western districts in western Scotland, Northern Ireland, perhaps tending to brighten up late on in the day. Temperatures well in the brightest spots up to 21, 70 degrees Fahrenheit, and generally across the country 16 to 19, 61 up to 66. But as you can see, generally quite a windy day. Well, that's it from me for the moment. There's the sunset times for tomorrow, and here's the summary.
Good evening. Now the news for the West Country. A 26-year-old man is still critically ill in hospital this evening after a shooting incident in the eastern area of Bristol. It sparked a major police operation involving 50 officers. This report from Jane Solomons.
Police were called to the eastern area at 4:30 in the morning after reports of gunshots around King Street. A 26-year-old man was badly hurt. It's thought he'd been at a party in Colston Road, attended by nearly 200 people. Police were there earlier after residents complained about the noise. It's thought 4 or 5 shots were fired and the injured man used the green car behind me as a shield. He was wounded in the chest but managed to get to Bloy Street where he called for help.
Heard a couple of cracks, quite loud cracks, and as I came to the window there was sort of the sound of running feet and he'd actually managed to stagger down there. And then he sort of collapsed over the wall, and that's when he decided to dive into one of the houses and ask for an ambulance. And the gun he was carrying sort of fell onto the floor.
The injured man's jacket and a gun holster have still to be examined by forensic experts. He fell onto the doorstep of a young woman alone in her home.
He fell over on the floor, and the gun left his hand and went onto the floor, and he was just in agony.
Residents said he appeared to be hiding from several men in cars.
About 5 or 6 cars doing about 70, 80 down the road, and they sort of like circled the block and they came down again really fast as if to say they're looking for this wounded man.
Police don't yet know of a motive for the shooting.
What I'd like to ask, if it was possible, is any person in that vicinity, 4:30 in the early hours of this morning, to come forward, whether they saw anything or not. If they can come forward and give us their names so that we can eliminate them from the inquiries.
Forensic experts are now making a minute search of the area. The 26-year-old Bristol man has undergone emergency surgery and is in a critical condition tonight at Bristol Royal Infirmary.
Some other news stories in brief. A firm at Brimscombe near Stroud, Benson International Systems, is to lay off 170 workers. There was a major alert at the Norton Manor Royal Marine Camp near Taunton last night. No reason has been given, but the area was sealed off for 3.5 hours. And the mayor of Weston-super-Mare collapsed unconscious after taking part in a 13-mile half-marathon today. Councillor Mike Wedlake later recovered. Now the weather outlook, becoming cloudy overnight with a few showers, staying mild though, tomorrow cloudier than today with the odd isolated shower. That's the news. Good evening to you.
Collect packs of Gold Seal or Silver Seal batteries and snap up a free gift.
Turkish delight, full of Eastern promise.
It won't be long now. It's going to be all right. I promise. What's your other name, Thomas? Look, you just hold me tight. That's a brave boy. Now listen to me. Oh my God.
Every year, hundreds of children die on our roads.
This child needs help. Anybody.
Now there's a free guide to show you how to protect your child. Just call 0800 717 717.
Diamond Windows. Buy 4 windows and get 1 free. Buy 7 windows and get a door free. Diamond Windows. Telephone Bristol 779 222.
These Yo programmes is Sunday night here on HTV West. There's comedy in Close to Home at 7:15 and we're taking you right up to the South Bank show at 10:35. Now we join Harry Seacombe on the Norfolk Broads for Highway.